The laboratory doors exploded inward with a sound like thunder. Sung-Ho jumped so hard that his coffee spilled across the datapad he was reading. Glass shattered, metal screeched, and then she was there. Captain Hanul stood in the doorway, breathing hard. Her armor was smoking. Actual smoke was rising from the heavy plates that covered her body. Burns marked the metal surface in dark streaks. One shoulder piece was missing entirely. She looked like she had just walked through hell. "Sung-Ho," she said. Her voice was rough. "We need to leave, now." He stared at her. They had not spoken in 5 years, not since the incident, not since he left the military and buried himself in this research station far from Earth. And now she was here, in his lab, looking like a nightmare made of metal and determination. "What are you talking about?" he asked. His hands were shaking. He put down the coffee cup before he dropped it. Hanul did not answer. Instead, she reached up and pressed something on her neck. The armor began to unlock. Heavy plates fell away from her body with loud crashes. Each piece hit the floor and cracked the white tiles beneath. The sound echoed through the small laboratory. Piece after piece dropped until she stood there in just her black combat suit, soaked with sweat. 3 hours, she said. Maybe less. The Vrax fleet is coming. They will destroy this station. Sung-Ho felt his stomach drop. The Vrax Dominion, humanity's worst enemy, 6-legged monsters that had been at war with Earth for 10 years. Their ships were made of living tissue and metal fused together. Their weapons could tear apart a station like this in minutes. "Then we need to evacuate," he said, already moving toward the door. "Sound the alarm. Get everyone to the escape pods." "No." Hanul grabbed his arm. Her grip was strong. "Not everyone, just you. We are going somewhere else." He pulled back from her. "What? Why? Hanul, what is going on?" She looked at him with those dark eyes that had once been warm, but now seemed to carry the weight of terrible knowledge. "I found something, during the battle, on their flagship, something that changes everything." "What did you find?" "I cannot explain it here. You need to see it yourself. But Sung-Ho listened to me." She stepped closer. "Everything we thought we knew about the galaxy is wrong. The Vrax are not the worst thing out there. They are running from something. And whatever they are running from has just noticed us." The words hit him like cold water. The Vrax were running? The creatures that had conquered 40 star systems? The beings that humans barely held back with everything they had? "That is impossible," he said. "I wish it was." Hanul picked up one of his lab coats and wiped her face. "I hacked into their ship during a boarding action, got into their data systems. They have an archive, a warning system. It has information about thousands of species across the galaxy. And we are in it, humans. We are marked as something called Class Omega threats." Sung-Ho laughed. It came out bitter and sharp. "Us? We barely have 50 colonies. We are fighting a losing war. How could we possibly be a threat to anyone?" Hanul moved to his computer and pulled up something on the screen. "It is not about our weapons or our numbers. It is about how we think, how we behave. The archive says humans have 3 traits that make us dangerous." She showed him the data she had stolen. Even though it was in an alien format, his translation program was already working on it. Words appeared on the screen. Species, human. Threat classification, Omega. Primary concerns. Extreme persistence. Subject species does not accept defeat. Adaptive creativity. Subject species create solutions to impossible problems. Pack bonding across species barriers. Subject species forms alliances with any available entity. "I do not understand," Sung-Ho said, reading it again. "The archive has records of 3 other species with these same traits. All 3 eventually dominated or destroyed entire sections of the galaxy. The current civilization exists because they were wiped out early." Hanul's voice was quiet now. "Sung-Ho, there is an extermination fleet coming. Not to Earth. Not yet. But it is coming. The archive says so. They eliminate species like us before we become too strong. He sat down hard in his chair. His mind was racing. This could not be real, but Hanul would not lie. Not about this. And the data on his screen looked genuine. How long? He asked. 6 months, maybe 8. The archive had a timeline. Then we warn Earth. Get the fleet ready. Evacuate the colonies if we have to. That is not enough. Hanul pulled up another file. I have seen the projections. Even with warning, we cannot win. Not alone. But that is why I need you. Me? I am just a scientist now. I study alien biology. I am not a soldier anymore. Yes. That is exactly why I need you. She showed him another image. It was from 5 years ago. A photo of him with an alien, a small green creature that had been captured during a raid. Do you remember this? How could he forget? That alien had been his patient. He had studied it, learned how it thought, how it communicated. He had made friends with it, despite everyone telling him not to. And when the military wanted to execute it, he had argued for its release. He had shown them that it could help broker peace with its species. It had worked. That species was now neutral in the human-Vrax war. It was a small victory, but it had saved lives. I remember, he said quietly. That is what you do, Sung-Ho. You do exactly what the galaxy fears. You make connections with aliens. You understand them. You make them into allies. Hanul knelt down beside his chair. That is how we survive this, not by fighting alone, by doing what humans do best. We will turn our greatest weakness into our greatest weapon. You want to make alliances. With who? The Vrax hate us. Everyone. Anyone. Every species we can find. And yes, eventually, even the Vrax. She stood up. But first, you need to see the archive yourself. The whole thing. It is still on their flagship. The ship is disabled, drifting near here. We have maybe 2 hours before the Vrax reinforcements arrive. Sung-Ho looked around his laboratory, his safe space, the place where he had hidden from the universe for 5 years. Part of him wanted to refuse, to say no, to stay here where things made sense. But he looked at Hanul, at the burns on her face, at the desperate hope in her eyes. She had come here for him, had fought through a battle to reach him, because she believed he could help. All right, he said, I will come. Hanul smiled. It was small and tired, but it was real. Good. Get a suit. We leave in 5 minutes. As Sung-Ho moved to grab his gear, his hands were still shaking, but it was not fear anymore. It was something else, something that felt like the beginning of a very long journey. The shuttle ride to the Vrax flagship was the longest 15 minutes of Sung-Ho's life. Through the small window, he could see the massive ship floating dead in space. It looked like a nightmare. The hull was made of dark purple biomaterial that seemed to pulse even though the ship was disabled. Sections of it were torn open, bleeding atmosphere in frozen clouds. How did you even survive attacking that thing? He asked Hanul. She was checking her weapon. Luck, skill, desperation. Pick one. The shuttle docked with a heavy clang. Hanul moved first, weapon ready. Sung-Ho followed, his own small pistol feeling useless in his hand. He was a scientist, not a soldier. Not anymore. The airlock opened. The smell hit him immediately. It was like rotting meat mixed with burning plastic. He gagged, but kept moving. Hanul led him through corridors that curved and twisted like the inside of some giant creature, because that was what Vrax ships were, part machine, part living thing. Stay close, Hanul said. Some of them might still be alive. They moved deeper into the ship. Sung-Ho's suit lights cast strange shadows on the walls. The organic surfaces seemed to breathe. He told himself it was just his imagination. Then they saw the first Vrax. It was huddled in a corner, 6 legs pulled tight against its body. The creature was massive, easily twice the size of a human. Its armored shell was dark red. Multiple eyes stared at them as they passed, but it did not move, did not attack. It was trembling. "Hanul," Sung-Ho whispered. "Why is it not attacking?" "Keep walking." They passed 3 more Vraks, all the same, all huddled, all shaking. These were the creatures that had terrorized human space for a decade, the unstoppable warriors, and they looked terrified. Sung-Ho felt his blood run cold. What scared them? You will see. They reached the data core. It was a chamber filled with strange organic computers, screens made of living tissue, controls that looked like they grew out of the walls. Hanul moved to one console and began working. "I already cracked most of their security during my first time here," she explained. "Just need to pull up the archive again." The screen flickered. Data began to flow. Even with his translator working, most of it was too complex. But Hanul knew what she was looking for. She pulled up a galactic map. "This is the known galaxy," she said. "At least what the Vraks know." The map showed thousands of stars, hundreds of species marked with different colors. Blue for peaceful, yellow for neutral, red for hostile. Most were yellow or blue. The Vraks' territory was marked in red. It covered 40 systems. Human space was just 10 systems, marked in red. "Now watch this," Hanul said. She changed the filter. Now the map showed different colors. Most species turned green. A few were yellow. And then there were the red ones. Only 5 species in the entire galaxy were marked red on this new map. Humans were one of them. "What is this showing?" Sung-Ho asked. "Threat level, according to the archive. Green means safe. Yellow means monitor. Red means eliminate before they become dangerous." Hanul pointed at the other 4 red species. "These 3 are extinct, wiped out thousands of years ago. This one is the Vraks. And us. And us." Sung-Ho stared at the map. "But we are not like the Vraks. We have not conquered dozens of systems. We are just trying to survive. That is not why we are marked." Hanul pulled up more data. "Look at this." A new screen appeared. It was an analysis report, written by whoever created this archive. The text was cold and clinical. Subject species analysis, humans technology level, moderate, not a primary concern. Population, low, not a primary concern. Military strength, adequate, not a primary concern. Behavioral concerns, critical trait. Alpha, persistence. This species does not surrender. Historical records show 0 instances of complete capitulation even under impossible odds. When faced with extinction-level threats, subject species increases effort rather than submitting. This trait has led to unexpected victories against superior forces. Trait beta, adaptive creativity. Subject species demonstrates unusual problem-solving methods. Rather than following established patterns, they create new solutions. This makes their actions difficult to predict. Defense systems optimized against standard tactics fail against human opponents. Trait gamma, cross-species. Bonding, most critical concern. Subject species forms emotional connections with other species, including traditional enemies. This trait has never been observed at this level in galactic history. Previous species with this trait formed alliances that reshaped galactic politics. Subject species has already demonstrated this behavior in limited encounters. Assessment, Class Omega threat. Recommend immediate containment or elimination. Sung-Ho read it twice, 3 times. "This is insane. They want to kill us because we make friends?" "Because we make friends with our enemies," Hanul corrected. "Think about it. The Vraks have fought hundreds of species, but they have never turned an enemy into an ally. They conquer or destroy, that is all they know. But we negotiated with the Kelth." We released prisoners to the Mordian Collective and they became neutral. We saved that alien ship last year and their government sent us supplies in thanks. Hanul's voice was hard. We do things the galaxy has never seen before, and it terrifies them. Sung-Ho's mind was racing. The archive. Who made it? Who decides these threat levels? Hanul pulled up another file. They are called the Stewards, an ancient AI collective. They have existed for millions of years. Their job is to maintain galactic stability, and they do that by eliminating species that might cause chaos. An AI? Making decisions about genocide? They do not see it as genocide. They see it as gardening, pulling weeds before they choke the garden. Hanul showed him more data. They have eliminated dozens of species, always before they become too powerful. Always before they can spread too far. Sung-Ho felt sick. And they are coming for us. Yes. According to the timeline in the archive, they have already deployed an extermination fleet. It will reach Earth in 6 months. Can we fight them? Hanul was quiet for a long moment. Then she shook her head. No, not alone. I have seen the projections. The Steward fleet is enormous. Hundreds of ships, all autonomous, all designed for one purpose. Then what do? We use what they fear against them. Hanul turned to face him. We do exactly what the archive says we do. We make allies, with everyone, the species that are neutral, the species that are friendly, even our enemies. The Vrax will never agree to that. Maybe. Maybe not. But we have to try. She gestured at the trembling Vrax in the corridor outside. They know what is coming. They have records of the Stewards. Their ancestors fought them once, thousands of years ago. They barely survived. Sung-Ho looked at the data again, at the cold, clinical analysis of humanity, at the death sentence written in alien code. Why me? Why do you need me specifically? Hanul pulled up one more file. It was from 5 years ago, his service record, the incident that made him leave the military. You saved my life, she said quietly. During that mission, when we were trapped on that planet, you could have left me, could have saved yourself, but you did not. You stayed, and you convinced that alien tribe to help us. You made them understand we were not enemies. He remembered. The pain, the fear, Hanul bleeding out, and him desperately trying to communicate with creatures that had every reason to kill them both. I was just trying to survive. No, you were doing what humans do. You were building a bridge. Hanul smiled. That is why I need you. Because you do not see aliens as enemies or tools. You see them as people. And if we are going to survive this, we need someone who can make the galaxy see us the same way. Outside the ship, alarms began to sound. The Vrax reinforcements were getting close. We need to leave, Hanul said. Now! They ran back through the corridors, past the terrified Vrax who still did not attack, back to their shuttle. As they launched, Sung-Ho looked back at the massive flagship, at the creatures inside who knew their doom was coming. Hanul, he said, if we are going to ask other species for help, we need to start with the truth. Complete honesty, no tricks, no manipulation. Even with the Vrax? Especially with the Vrax. He looked at her. If we are going to do this, we do it the right way. We show them that humans are worth saving, not because we are strong, but because we are different. Hanul nodded slowly. All right. We do it your way. But first, we need to get back to human space. We need to convince Earth that this is real. As their shuttle jumped to faster-than-light speed, Sung-Ho looked at the data pad Hanul had given him. The archive, the evidence, the death sentence, 6 months to save humanity. It did not seem like enough time. But then again, humans were good at doing impossible things. Earth's military headquarters looked the same as Sung-Ho remembered. Cold metal walls, bright lights, officers moving with purpose through the corridors. But everything felt different now. He carried knowledge that could doom or save everyone here. Admiral Tae-Wan sat behind his desk, gray hair cut short, face lined with the stress of 10 years of war. He had not changed much, still had that look of a man carrying too much weight. He listened to Ha-Nul's report without interrupting. His expression never changed. When she finished, he was quiet for a full minute. "Show me the data," he finally said. Ha-Nul transferred the files. The Admiral read through them on his screen. Sung-Ho watched his face, watched for disbelief, for anger, for anything. "This is verified?" Tae-Wan asked. "Yes, sir. I had our best analysts check it. The code is genuine Vrax. The data matches what we know about ancient galactic civilizations." 6 months. Maybe less, sir." The Admiral stood and walked to his window. Outside, Earth hung in space, blue and green and beautiful. "I have 60 capital ships, 300 support vessels, maybe 20,000 fighters if I call up all reserves. Against what you are describing, that is nothing." "No, sir," Ha-Nul agreed. "That is why we need allies." "Allies?" Tae-Wan turned back to them. "Captain, we are at war with the Vrax. The Kelth are neutral, but barely. Most other species either fear us or do not know we exist. Who exactly would help us?" Sung-Ho stepped forward. "Anyone who is also threatened by the stewards, which according to the archive is most of the galaxy." The Admiral looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. "Dr. Sung-Ho, I remember you. You left the service 5 years ago, after the Kelth incident." "Yes, sir. That was good work. Strange work. But good." Tae-Wan sat back down. "You think you can do that again? On a larger scale?" "I think I have to try, sir." For the first time, the Admiral almost smiled. "You sound like a soldier again, Doctor." They worked through the night. Tae-Wan called in his staff, intelligence officers, diplomats, scientists. They spread the data across multiple screens and began planning. Dr. Ji-Woo arrived near midnight. She was a xenopsychology expert, one of the best. She had also been Sung-Ho's partner years ago. That had ended badly. She looked at him, nodded once, then focused on the work. "I have a list of 12 species within reachable space," she said. "Some are friendly, some are neutral. A few are hostile but not actively fighting us." "Start with the friendly ones," Tae-Wan ordered. Over the next week, they sent messages. Careful, diplomatic communications. They did not mention the stewards yet, just asked for meetings, for conversations. Some species agreed, others refused. One threatened war if humans contacted them again. "This is going slower than we hoped," Ha-Nul said. "Diplomacy always does," Ji-Woo replied. The first real meeting was with the Kelth. Small, green-skinned beings with 4 arms and a strong sense of honor. Sung-Ho had saved one of their scouts 5 years ago. That created a debt in their culture. The Kelth ambassador listened to their presentation, watched the data, and finally spoke. "This is a grave matter," the ambassador said through the translator. "But why should my people risk war with these stewards?" "Because they will come for you eventually," Sung-Ho said. "The archive shows it. Any species that grows too strong or too organized becomes a target. My people are peaceful. We do not threaten anyone. Neither do we. But that does not matter to the stewards." Sung-Ho leaned forward. "Ambassador, 5 years ago, your government wrote me a letter. It said that honor demands we repay kindness with kindness. I am asking you to honor that debt now." The ambassador was quiet. Then, "I will bring this to my council." A week later, the Kelth agreed to share their supply routes and provide medical support. It was not much, but it was a start. Next came the merchant collectives. loose organizations of traders who moved between systems. They cared about profit, not politics. Sung Ho met with their representatives in a neutral station. "Why should we help you fight?" the lead merchant asked. She was from a species called the Torth. Blue skin, multiple eyes, very practical. "Because the stewards will destroy trade routes," Jiwoo explained. "They bring order, which means control, which means no free markets." The merchant considered this. "You have evidence?" They showed her the archive data, the patterns of past steward interventions, how they always stabilized regions by limiting trade and movement. "This is bad for business," the merchant agreed. "Very bad. We will share our FTL route maps, and we will spread word to other collectives. But we will not fight." "That is enough," Sung Ho said. "Thank you." Each small victory added up. A refugee species driven from their home by the Vraks agreed to share technology. A mining colony offered raw materials. A scientific outpost provided research data. But it still was not enough. 3 months had passed. 3 months of constant travel, constant negotiations. Sung Ho barely slept. Jiwoo worked 18-hour days. Hanyul led raids to steal or recover technology that humanity needed. Everyone was exhausted, and the calculations still showed they would lose. Sung Ho sat in his temporary quarters one night, staring at the numbers. They had assembled a coalition of 15 species. It sounded impressive, but compared to what was coming, it was nothing. Jiwoo knocked on his door. "Can I come in?" He nodded. She sat down across from him. "I have been thinking about what went wrong," she said. "Between us. Years ago." "Jiwoo, this is not the time." "Just listen." She looked tired. "I blamed you for leaving the military. Said you were running away, but I was wrong. You were not running. You were just done with the violence. I was weak. No. You were smart enough to know your limits." She gestured at the data on his screen. "But now you are back. Fighting again. Why?" Sung Ho thought about it. "Because this time it is not about violence. It is about connection, about showing the galaxy that there is another way." "That is very optimistic." "It is very human." Jiwoo smiled. It was sad, but real. "I am glad you came back, even if it is for this impossible task. We make a good team. We always did." "We did," he agreed. Another knock on the door. Hanyul entered without waiting for permission. She looked worse than both of them. New scars on her face, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "We have a problem," she said. "Admiral Taewan just got word. The Vraks are planning a major offensive against Earth in 2 weeks. Sung Ho stood up. "What? Why now?" "Because they know about the stewards, too. They think if they conquer Earth before the extermination fleet arrives, they can use human space as a buffer. Sacrifice us to buy time for themselves." "That is insane," Jiwoo said. "The stewards will come for them anyway." "Yes, but the Vraks do not think like we do. They only know strength and survival." Hanyul looked at Sung Ho. "We need to talk to them before this attack happens." "They will never listen." "They might, if we offer them something they need." Hanyul pulled up a map. "The archive data. We have information about the stewards that the Vraks lost thousands of years ago, battle strategies, weaknesses. It might be enough to get them to the table." "Or it might just help them plan better," Jiwoo said. "It is a risk," Sung Ho admitted. "But what choice do we have? If the Vraks attack Earth now, we lose everything. All our alliances, all our preparation. We need to try." Hanyul nodded. "Then we go to Vrak space, the 3 of us, plus a small team. We deliver the message directly to their war master." "That is suicide," Jiwoo said. "Probably," Hanyul agreed, "but it is necessary." Admiral Taewan approved the mission. He had no other options. The human fleet was preparing for the Vraks attack, but if it came to battle, thousands would die, maybe millions if the Vraks broke through to Earth. They assembled a team. A young soldier named Yun-Woo volunteered. He was barely 20, but skilled with communications equipment. 3 aliens from their coalition also joined: a Kelth, a Torth merchant, and a small scout from a species that could translate languages instantly. 7 people, going into the heart of enemy territory to ask their worst enemies for help. "This is the most insane plan I have ever been part of," Ji-Woo said as they boarded the ship. "Welcome to human thinking," Hanul replied. As they jumped to FTL, Sung-Ho looked at the data one more time. The archive, the threat assessment, the analysis that said humans bond with anyone. Maybe that was not a weakness after all. Maybe it was exactly what they needed. Vrak's space looked like something from a nightmare. The stars here were older, darker. The systems they passed through showed signs of conquest. Dead worlds, broken stations. The Vraks took what they wanted and left nothing behind. Their ship was small and fast. They had painted it with stolen Vraks identification codes. Hanul had acquired them during one of her raids. It was enough to get them through the outer systems without being destroyed immediately. "2 more jumps to Vrax's Prime," Hyun-Woo said from the pilot seat. The young soldier had barely spoken since they left. His hands shook slightly on the controls. "Steady," Hanul told him. "You are doing well." The Kelth warrior on their team, called Ren by his human companions, checked his weapon for the 10th time. "This is madness. The Vraks do not negotiate. They conquer or they kill." "They negotiated with the Teln Union 50 years ago," Ji-Woo said. She was reading through historical data. "Only after they destroyed 6 Teln worlds," Ren replied. "That is not negotiation. That is surrender." "Then we need to make them understand this is different," Sung-Ho said. He was preparing their presentation, the data they would show War Master Krell. It had to be perfect. They would only get one chance. The Torth merchant, whose name the translator rendered as something like sharp dealer, sat quietly in the corner. "I still think you should offer them trade concessions. Everyone understands profit." "The Vraks do not trade," Ji-Woo said. "They take." "Then they are fools." Their small translator, a wispy creature that communicated through color changes in its skin, pulsed yellow. Nervous. It was the same color all of them felt. The final jump brought them to Vrax's Prime. The planet was massive, red and angry-looking. 6 moons orbited it, each one covered in military installations. Ships patrolled everywhere, thousands of them. The Vraks war machine in all its terrible glory. "We are being scanned," Hyun-Woo said, multiple targets locking on. Ha-Newell opened communications. She spoke in perfect Vraks language, something she had learned during her years of fighting them. The response was immediate and hostile, but their codes held. After a tense minute, they were given permission to approach. "They are taking us to a military station," Hyun-Woo said, "not the planet's surface." "That is fine," Ha-Newell replied. "Anywhere we can talk to Krell works." The station was enormous, built into one of the smaller moons. As they docked, Sung-Ho could see Vraks warriors watching them through viewports. 6-legged nightmares with armored shells and too many eyes. "Remember the plan," Ha-Newell said. "I do the talking initially. Sung-Ho presents the data. Everyone else stays quiet unless asked directly. Do not show fear. The Vraks respect strength." "Easy to say," Hyun-Woo muttered. They were escorted through corridors that stank of chemicals and decay. Vraks guards surrounded them, weapons ready. Sung-Ho counted 20 of them. Each one could probably kill all 7 humans before they could react. The throne room was massive. That was the only word for it. High ceilings, dark walls covered in what looked like battle trophies, weapons from defeated enemies, armor plates, and in the center, on a raised platform, sat War Master Krell. He was huge, easily 3 times the size of a normal Vraks. His shell was dark gray, covered in scars. One of his 6 legs was missing, replaced with a metal prosthetic. His eyes, all 8 of them, focused on the group as they entered. "Humans," he said. His voice was like grinding rocks. The translator rendered it into something understandable. "You dare come here, to my world, during war." Hanael stepped forward. She did not bow. "War Master Krell, we come with information that affects both our species." "Information." Krell shifted. The movement made Sung Ho's survival instinct scream at him to run. "You come to spy, to gather intelligence. Guards, execute them." The Vrax warriors moved forward. "Wait," Sung Ho said. He stepped past Hanul. "War Master, we know about the stewards." Every Vrax in the room froze. Krell leaned forward. "What did you say?" "The stewards, the ancient AI collective. The ones your ancestors fought thousands of years ago." Sung Ho pulled out his data pad. His hands were shaking, but he forced them steady. "We found your archive on the flagship that Captain Hanul disabled. We know they are coming, not just for us, for both our species." The silence in the room was total. Finally, Krell spoke. "Show me." Sung Ho approached the platform. Every step felt like walking toward his own death, but he kept moving. He held up the data pad. "May I project this?" Krell gestured. A screen appeared on the wall, holographic. Sung Ho connected his pad and began the presentation. He showed them everything: the archive, the threat classifications, the timeline showing the steward fleet approaching, and most importantly, the historical data about the Vrax's own encounter with the stewards. "Your people fought them once," Sung Ho said. 3,000 years ago. You won. Barely. But you lost 80% of your military in the process. And that was when the steward sent only a small cleanup force. "How do you know this?" Krell demanded. "It is in your own archive. Your ancestors recorded it as a warning, but somewhere over the centuries, the warning was forgotten." Sung Ho showed the battle data. "This time they are sending a full extermination fleet for both humans and Vrax." "Why both?" "Because we are both marked as Class Omega threats. Both species that could destabilize the galaxy if allowed to grow." Sung Ho looked directly at Krell. "They do not care that we are at war with each other. To them, we are both weeds that need pulling." Krell was silent for a long time. Then, "You expect me to believe humans would share this information freely, without demanding something in return?" "I expect you to be smart enough to see the truth," Sung Ho said. He could feel Hanul tense behind him. He was being too bold, but something told him that boldness was what Krell respected. The War Master laughed. It was a terrible sound, like breaking bones. "Humans, so strange, so weak. Yet here you stand in my throne room demanding I listen. Why?" "Because we are all going to die if we do not work together," Sung Ho said simply. "The stewards do not negotiate. They do not care about strength or honor or survival. They just eliminate threats. And right now, that is us. You want alliance between Vrax and humans. Yes, impossible." Sung Ho felt his heart sink. But then Krell continued. "But not because I refuse, because my people would never accept it. We have fought humans for 10 years. Thousands of Vrax warriors have died by human hands. How do I tell them to suddenly fight alongside their enemies?" "The same way I will tell my people," Sung Ho said, "by explaining that the alternative is extinction." Krell stared at him. Those 8 eyes were unreadable. Finally, he gestured to his guards. "Leave us, all of you." The Vrax warriors hesitated. Then they filed out. Krell waited until the doors closed. Then he shifted his massive body and came down from the platform. Up close, he was even more terrifying. "You are the one called Sung Ho," Krell said. "I have heard of you. You saved a Kelth scout, made them neutral in our war." "Yes. Why did you do that?" Sung-ho thought about how to answer, then decided on honesty. Because I was tired of killing. Because I wanted to prove there was another way. You are weak. Maybe. But I am alive. And so is everyone I saved. Krell made a sound that might have been laughter. The archive is right about your species. You do not think like warriors. You think like... I do not have a word for it in my language. Friends, Sung-ho said. We think like friends. Friends. Krell tested the word. We do not have friends. We have allies of convenience, subordinates, enemies. Then maybe that is why you are marked as a threat too, Ji-woo said. She had stepped forward. Because you only know how to conquer. You never learned how to cooperate. Krell turned his attention to her. And humans know cooperation? We are trying to learn, she replied. Even now. Even with you. The War Master was quiet again. Then he moved to a console and pulled up his own data. I have projections, based on the archive information you stole. The steward fleet will arrive at human space first, then come here. We have 8 months total. We calculated 6 to 8 months, Sung-ho confirmed. Your admiral is preparing to defend Earth, with 60 capital ships. You have spies in our command, Hanul said. It was not a question. Of course. Just as you have spies here. Krell showed them tactical data. I have 400 capital ships, twice your firepower, and according to my projections, it is still not enough, not against what is coming. Then we need each other, Sung-ho said. Krell turned back to them. If I agree to this, if I pull back my offensive against Earth, if I commit my fleet to fight alongside yours, what guarantee do I have that humans will not betray us afterward? None, Sung-ho said honestly. Just as we have no guarantee you will not betray us. Then why should we do this? Because the alternative is certainty, certain death. At least this way we have a chance. Sung-ho stepped closer. War Master Krell, I cannot promise you that humans and Vrax will be friends after this. I cannot even promise we will not fight again someday. But I can promise you this. If we survive, it will be because we chose to trust each other when it mattered most. Krell stared at him for a very long time. The room was silent except for the sound of his breathing. Finally he spoke. You have courage, Sung-ho. Foolish courage, but courage nonetheless. He straightened to his full height. I will agree to your alliance, temporary, until the stewards are dealt with, but I have one condition. What condition? If humanity survives this and then turns on the Vrax. Krell's voice became deadly quiet. I will personally hunt down every human world, starting with yours. Do you understand? Sung-ho felt ice in his stomach, but he nodded. I understand. Good. Krell moved back to his platform. You will return to your admiral. Tell him the Vrax fleet will meet his forces at Earth. We fight together. Or we die separately. As they were escorted back to their ship, Hyunwoo whispered, Did that just work? Did we just ally with the Vrax? For now, Hanul said. She looked shaken. They all did. Sung-ho looked back at the throne room one last time. They had done the impossible. They had made their worst enemy into an ally. Now they just had to survive what came next. Earth had never seen anything like it. The combined fleet hung in space like a strange metal garden. Human destroyers with their sleek, angular designs, Vrax bioships that looked like giant insects, Kelth support vessels, Torth merchant freighters that had been hastily armed, ships from a dozen other species, all gathered in orbit around the blue-green planet. Admiral Tae-Wan stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the display. 400 Vrax capital ships, 60 human ships, another 100 vessels from their other allies. It should have been impressive. It should have been enough. It is still not enough, he said quietly. Sung-ho stood beside him. He had been given a position as civilian advisor. Hanul was down in the fighter bays preparing her squadron. Jiwoo was coordinating communications between all the different species. Hyunwoo was managing the network that tied everyone together. "The stewards are 3 hours out," the tactical officer reported. "All ships to battle positions," Taewon ordered. The response came back in a dozen different languages, but the translator rendered it all the same: ready, prepared, waiting. Sung-ho looked at Earth through the viewport. He had spent 5 years running from this, from war, from violence, from the responsibility of protecting others. Now here he was, right back where he started, except this time the entire species was at stake. "You should go to the shelter," Taewon said. "No, I stay here. You are a civilian. I am a human. Same as everyone else on this ship." Sung-ho smiled. "Besides, if we lose, the shelters will not matter anyway." Taewon almost laughed. "Fair point." The fleet emerged from FTL exactly on time. The steward forces appeared as perfect geometric shapes against the darkness of space. Cubes, spheres, pyramids, each one glowing with cold blue light. They did not look like weapons. They looked like mathematical perfection. "Count?" Taewon asked. 500 capital ships. Estimate 2,000 support craft. Unknown number of autonomous fighters. The tactical officer's voice was steady, but Sung-ho could hear the fear underneath. 500 against their 560. It should have been close to even. But everyone knew it was not. The steward ships were built by an intelligence that had refined warfare for millions of years. They did not make mistakes. They did not panic. They just eliminated threats with cold efficiency. "All ships," Taewon began. Then he paused. He looked at Sung-ho. "Doctor, you should say something. This is your alliance. Your idea." Sung-ho blinked. "What? I am not a military commander." "No, but you are the one who brought us together." Taewon gestured to the communications console. "Speak. They will listen." Sung-ho moved to the console. His hands were shaking. He took a breath. Then he pressed the transmission button. "This is Dr. Sung-ho, to all ships in the Allied fleet." His voice echoed across hundreds of vessels. Thousands of beings from dozens of species heard him. 6 months ago, I was just a scientist. I studied aliens in a laboratory. I did not want to fight. I did not want to lead. I just wanted to understand why we are all so different." He looked at Earth. "But then I learned something. We are different. Every species here thinks differently, acts differently, believes different things. The stewards see that as a weakness. They see diversity as chaos that needs to be eliminated, but they are wrong." On the display, the steward fleet was arranging itself into perfect formations, mathematical patterns designed for maximum efficiency. "Our differences are not weakness," Sung-ho continued. "They are strength. Because we each bring something unique to this fight. The Vraks bring ferocity and power. The Kelth bring honor and precision. The Torth bring cleverness and adaptability. Humans bring hope. The hope that we can work together even when it seems impossible." The enemy fleet began moving forward. Slow. Inevitable. "The stewards want to eliminate us because we might cause chaos, because we do not fit into their perfect order. So let us prove them right. Let us show them chaos. Let us show them that life is messy and complicated and beautiful precisely because we are all so different. And let us show them that together we are stronger than any cold calculation could ever predict." Sung-ho released the transmission button. The bridge was silent. Then, from every ship in the fleet, responses began coming in different languages, different voices, but all saying the same thing. "We are ready. We are together. We will fight." "Well said, Doctor," Taewon said. Then he raised his voice. "All ships, engage." The battle began. It was chaos. Exactly as Sung-ho had said. Human ships darted in and out, using speed and unpredictability. Vrak's bioships charged forward with raw power, their living weapons tearing into enemy vessels. Kelth ships formed perfect defensive positions, protecting the weaker craft. Torth merchants used their knowledge of the terrain, leading enemies into trap positions. The steward ships responded with perfect efficiency. They adapted to each tactic, learned each pattern. Their AI was analyzing everything in real time, creating counter-strategies. "We are losing ships faster than they are," the tactical officer reported. 15% casualties in the first hour. Sung Ho watched the battle unfold. It looked like madness on the display. Ships moving in ways that made no tactical sense, at least not by standard military thinking. The human ships kept changing tactics. The Vraks would suddenly pull back and let someone else take the lead. The smaller ships would swarm in patterns that seemed random, but it was not random. Each species was doing what they did best, and they were doing it together. 20% casualties, the tactical officer said. Jiwoo appeared on the bridge, running from the communications room. "Sung Ho, I think I see something. The enemy AI. It is adapting to each species individually. But what? It does not understand cooperation. Look." She pulled up a tactical analysis. "Every time we coordinate between species, its predictions fail. When a human ship and a Vrak's ship attack together, it cannot calculate what we will do." Sung Ho stared at the data. She was right. The steward AI was perfect at analyzing individual tactics. But when species worked together, when they trusted each other to cover weaknesses, the AI failed to predict it. "Because it does not understand trust," he said. "It only understands logic and efficiency. It cannot imagine that we would deliberately expose ourselves to let someone else strike." "Exactly." Sung Ho ran to the admiral. "Sir, I have an idea, but it is crazy. Everything about this is crazy, Doctor. What do you need?" "I need every ship in the fleet to expose themselves at the same time, deliberately leave themselves vulnerable, and then trust that the other species will cover them." Taewon looked at him like he had lost his mind. "That would require perfect coordination, perfect trust. One mistake, and entire groups get wiped out." "Yes, but if it works, the enemy AI will not know what to do. It will try to target all the exposed ships at once and spread itself too thin." The admiral was quiet. Then he looked at the casualty reports. 30% losses now. They were losing. "Do it," he said. Jiwoo sent the plan to every ship, explained what they needed to do. The responses came back confused, disbelieving. Some species thought it was a trap. The Vrak's War Master himself questioned the sanity of it, but Hanul's voice came over the communications. "All fighters, we trust the plan. We trust each other. Execute on my mark." One by one, the ships agreed. "Coordinate the attack," Taewon ordered. "All species, all ships, simultaneously." The countdown began. Sung Ho watched the display. This would either save them all or doom them. 3, 2, 1. The human ships broke formation and charged directly at the enemy. Weapons blazing, but shields dropped. Completely vulnerable. The steward ships targeted them immediately. Then the Vrak's bioships swooped in from the side, shields at maximum, covering the humans while launching their own attacks, exposed on their flanks. The Kelth ships moved into position, protecting the Vraks with precise defensive fire. But this left their engines vulnerable. The merchant ships darted in, small and fast, covering the Kelth engines while deploying weapons they had hidden in their cargo bays. On and on it went, every species covering another, every ship trusting that someone else would protect them. It was insane. It was beautiful. It was something the galaxy had never seen before. The steward AI tried to calculate the attack patterns. Failed. Tried to predict the next move. Failed. Its perfect mathematical models could not account for this level of cooperation, this level of trust. "Enemy coordination is breaking down," the tactical officer shouted. "They are spreading their fire too thin, trying to target all the exposed ships." "All vessels, focus fire on the command nodes," Taiwan ordered. The Allied fleet concentrated their attacks. The steward command ships, huge spheres at the center of their formation, came under assault from every direction. The AI tried to reposition, tried to adapt, but it could not predict where the next coordinated strike would come from because it required understanding trust, understanding sacrifice, understanding what it meant to be alive. The first command node exploded in a bloom of blue light, then the second, the third. Without central coordination, the steward fleet began to falter. Individual ships were still dangerous, still deadly. But they fought alone now. And alone, they could not stand against the coordinated chaos of the Allied fleet. The battle raged for 6 more hours. It was brutal, bloody. Ships died on both sides. Sung-ho watched as the casualty numbers climbed. 50%, 60%. Good people were dying. Brave people from a dozen species. Admiral Taiwan's flagship took a direct hit. The bridge shuddered. Alarms screamed. "Hull breach on multiple decks," someone shouted. "Keep firing," Taiwan ordered. His voice was calm. He had been here before. Another hit. Worse this time. The display flickered. Sung-ho could smell smoke. They were dying, but they were taking the enemy with them. "Sir, 3 Vrax ships are moving to cover us," the tactical officer said. "Tell them to focus on the enemy." "They say," the officer paused, "they say that allies do not abandon allies." Taiwan smiled. It was sad and proud at the same time. "Then we fight together." The Vrax ships positioned themselves between the flagship and the enemy. They took devastating hits. One exploded completely, but they bought time. Time for human engineers to patch the hull. Time to get weapons back online. "All forward batteries fire," Taiwan commanded. The flagship's main weapons blazed. The shots punched through a steward capital ship. It broke apart in silence. Slowly, gradually, the tide turned. The steward fleet was losing. Their perfect formations were shattered. Their cold efficiency meant nothing against the messy, beautiful chaos of living beings fighting for each other. The last steward ship fell 8 hours after the battle began. The Allied fleet hung in space, damaged and broken. Out of 560 ships, barely 200 remained intact. Thousands had died, entire crews lost. It was a victory, but it tasted like ashes. Sung-ho stood on the damaged bridge, looking at Earth, still there, still blue and green, still alive. "Dr. Sung-ho," a voice came through the communications. It was War Master Krell. "You have my respect and my gratitude. We did it together, War Master." "Yes, together." Krell was quiet for a moment. "Perhaps there is something to this cooperation after all. Perhaps your species is not as weak as I believed." "Perhaps yours is not as different from us as you thought," Sung-ho replied. Hanul's fighter limped back to the carrier. She was alive, damaged but alive. Hyunwoo was helping coordinate rescue operations. Jiwoo was working with the other species to organize medical support. Admiral Taiwan died 3 hours after the battle ended. His ship had taken too much damage. He held on long enough to see Earth saved. Then he let go. His last words were simple. "We did good today." 6 months later, Sung-ho stood in what used to be his laboratory. It was not a lab anymore. It was now the headquarters of the Interspecies Research Institute. Beings from a dozen species worked here, studying together, learning from each other, building something new. Hanul found him there. She looked different, less hard. The war had ended with the steward's defeat. The Vrax had pulled back from human space, not friends, not yet. But not enemies either. "I heard you turned down a position with the military," she said. "I did. I am better here, teaching, researching, helping species understand each other. That is very you, she smiled. Was it worth it? Bursting into your lab that day, dragging you into all this? Sung-Ho looked around, at the aliens working alongside humans, at the bridges being built between species that had never trusted each other before, at the future taking shape. Yes, he said, it was worth it. Good. Hanul turned to leave, then paused. Thank you for believing we could be better, for believing they could be better. We saved each other, Sung-Ho said. That is what humans do. Outside, Earth turned in space, and across the galaxy, species that had spent millennia fearing each other were beginning to wonder. If humans could bond with anyone, even their enemies, then maybe cooperation was possible after all. Maybe the galaxy could be something more than it had been. Maybe chaos was not something to fear. Maybe it was something to embrace. The Stewart Archive had been right about one thing. Humans were dangerous, but not because they conquered, because they made others want to help them conquer, because they turned fear into friendship, because they refused to accept that differences meant division. In the end, that was what saved them all.